What is going on, guys? I am Joey.
Hello, it's Matt.
We're live here. This is not Tuning Tuesday. This is not Burnout Boss. It's just this kind of random
This is where
shenanigans.
Joey and I are going to go into story time and hope we keep our jobs.
Yeah, it's story time. I'm going to keep my job.
I
You do your best to keep your job.
Oh my God, what are we doing today, Joey?
All right, let's figure out where we're starting. How did you start at VMP? What was your introduction?
That's a great starting.
What was your introduction to VMP, and how long have you been here?
So I'm coming up on my 2-year because it'll be 2 years in the first weekend of March.
Okay.
Because I had to delay my start time a week because of NMCA.
Racing?
Yeah, because of racing.
Yeah.
So I've known Justin a long time because I, of course, had the shop. I found Justin because I was turboing a V6. And
like
I
a
was,
new Edge V6? Or like a Cyclone? 4.0.
Yeah, like 05, 06. And I was turboing a V6 and it was getting had like an on-3 kit on it and it was getting valve float. And I was looking for some valve springs and I stumbled down a rabbit hole and I found some old threads that Justin had posted about what valve springs and ended up being a valve spring for like some Yamaha or something like that, and it was a direct drop in. Okay. So I threw that in there and it fixed it. And then I started buying mass air meters from them. Okay. Flanges, things like that. Started buying injectors from them.
So you stumbled on Justin from a forum, and then you kind of just started buying little tidbits.
Little things from him here and there.
Okay, cool.
And then eventually just was like, hey, what's up with that job though?
Yeah. So you had your own shop. Where was your shop located?
I was over in Sarasota for 10 years.
Sarasota. Doing race car stuff? Or?
Always. Mustangs, Corvettes, Camaros, things like that.
Okay. So did you do more LS stuff or more Ford stuff?
90%. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I'd say about 75% Ford and the rest GM at the time, and then left there to go work for Diablo for a while doing engineering there, and then jumped over here.
Nice. 2 months from now will be my 3-year anniversary with VMP. April or mid-April. I had seen Justin in like the Fast Mustangs and other Fast Fords or whatever that. Remember that magazine?
Yeah. Oh, Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords.
Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords.
MM and FF.
Yeah, exactly. I had always seen videos of Justin like tinkering on the dyno at his house and stuff. That's where I had first saw the name. VMP didn't come into my radar until I think I had ordered something from here one time on accident, not even knowing it was in accident. Florida. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I kind of came about into VMP. What is your fast car recipe? Let's say you had 7 days to purchase a car and you got to make it as fast as possible, bolt-ons only. So let's take.
So is the budget coming to the question here? Is
let's do
budget?
it. So let's say
you guys want to set a budget. You can just set the whole thing.
Okay, so right now I got a $5,000 budget. I got to buy a car on Craigslist or Facebook, and then the rest of my budget.
And we're going drag racing?
Yeah, let's go drag racing. That's what you and I know best.
It's gonna have to be LS based. There's gonna have to be. There's a reason that Horsepower Wars every year is nothing but turbo LS cars.
Okay,
with $10,000 budgets.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna have to be a turbo LS car. We'll buy the lightest car I can shove that motor into and hope for the best.
Oh wow, you're doing motor swaps and everything. I was just thinking like an SN 95.0 or a Fox body or something. And
well, that's what I mean. Literally, that's kind of what that Horsepower Wars things that Power Automotive Media or whatever puts out of California. They do every year. They have that competition, the 10K shootout or whatever it is, and they have to compete. And they get a car and they get $10,000. They get like $2,000 in cash and then like $7,500 in Summit bucks, and they have to go build this car. And they get a lot of stuff.
Having to buy things at retail.
Dude, it's really, really cool. It actually is a really cool thing, and it's kind of the same concept. And it's always turbo LS. This year they did a no prep version. Ooh. This year was the first no prep version.
See, now I feel like when it comes to no prep, the LS might not be that great because GM is not known for having good, reliable rear ends.
Well, it's not. They're not all GM cars. Like there was an SN95, there was an El Camino.
Oh, that's not.
So there was a Catfish, which would be Camaro. There was a SN95. There was an S10 truck, and there was a El Camino.
Okay, so let's do this. $5,000 stip. and it has to be a motor that came in the car, so no motor swaps.
Ooh.
So like you could buy like a 96 Mustang, it could be the 4-valve, it could be 2-valve, or a V6.
So then the problem is Fox bodies everyone's lost their minds when it comes to Fox bodies.
Yeah, you'll be hard pressed to find a $5,000 Fox
You
body.
can't. So right now, the cheapest Mustangs in the world are the new edges, like the beat to hell new edges, like the 01, like 2099. Those are the ones that are the cheapest, I feel.
Yeah, but even the 2-valves, like you're struggling to find them for like 3,500 is what I pretty much see
Clean.
going.
I'm talking. Yeah.
But then you got $1,500 to make a 2-valve fast.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So we go. Oh, that includes the price of the car too.
Yeah. You got 5,000. That's all you get. So here's where I'm going. So I'm going SN95 with an AOD. Turning overdrive off because you're gonna blow through it on the first pass. So I should be able to pick up one of those for about 2,500 ish, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
And then we'll go cam heads and 2 kits. I should be good for a used set of like AFR or what is that company?
Oh, AFRs?
Is it AFR? Yeah. So AFR like the 185s or something. The 185 cc's. I don't care.
Right there.
I don't care. A TFS 1 cam or a TFS 2 cam, and then 2 kits of nitrous.
So I think I'm gonna go. So
it's got the 8.8. It's gonna go down the road.
So I think I'm gonna go new edge.
Okay.
2-valve. And I'm gonna scoop one up for $2,500 as well, maybe cheaper because I know they're out there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take everything out of that car that can be taken out of it.
So, but that's not much different than an SN95 with nothing out of it.
So I mean, it's going to be empty, all right. And then we're gonna pull that thing apart. I'm gonna put some coyote rods in that thing for $150. All right, and then.
But you still got junk pistons.
No, wait a minute.
Okay.
So then I might have could find some like I don't know, Lightning pistons or some GT500 pistons or something that'll throw in there because those are forged.
Yeah.
Maybe some used GT500 pistons, and then the world's cheapest fuel pump, and then just spray it until it will not run anymore on a 4R70.
So with like a 2-valve, it'll probably be like a 250 shot.
Yeah,
maybe
it should make. I should be able to get 500 out of that thing before it comes apart.
Jacob Plank says a beat 96, 98 Cobra all day long.
Yeah, but you're gonna pay a premium to find a Cobra. That's the problem.
Okay. So let's say you can pick one up for 4,000. What are you doing with $1,000 that's gonna beat
nothing?
A 2-valve with a built motor.
One shot, one pass.
Yeah, that's true. If it's just that, so we had that idea here at VMP. Chuck kind of pitched it, and it was like $1,000.
We're gonna do like junkyard drag races.
$1,000. We were gonna. It had to make a pass A to B, 8th mile.
Yep.
It had to go on the dyno, and it had to make 3 passes on the New Smyrna Speedway next door
for $1,000.
And it was you only had $1,000 to spend, and then the winner got to keep everybody else's car.
I'm scooping up some kind of old. I'm scooping up for $1,000. I'm scooping up an old Escort or something like that, and then spraying the shit out of it.
Dude, Joe's Escort is pretty quick.
That's what I'm saying.
It feels kind of peppy.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just spray it till
he's got his tuned up though. He turned it up.
Turned up. A turned up Escort.
A turned up Escort. What else we got?
Oh my God.
Give us your favorite racing story. Could be you racing, could be somebody you witnessed, somebody you pit crewed for. What do you got? Favorite race story. I know you've done a lot of racing. You've done a lot of pit crewing for Jeremy.
Yeah, and vice versa. And I've crewed for some big teams and stuff like that too. I've got one that always sticks in my head. Always. So you got to remember, I came from a real small town. All right, real small town, Northeast Ohio. So I had my 2000 GT. Okay, so then I come down to Florida. I went to college. So I left the small town I had my GT, which was bolt-ons.
Okay.
And I went like
what kind of bolt-ons?
I went 14.0s.
Like throttle body, plenum, exhaust?
Not even. It was like no cats and exhaust.
Okay,
and cold air intake.
Cat delete, headers, and
so you gotta remember, I'm like a 14.0 car at the time.
Okay.
But that was king where I was from in the high school era.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
I think I had a buddy's 2-valve that we put together, and it went 13.9.
Yeah.
And it like on a Hail Mary pass, it went 13.7, and we loaded up and never raced it again.
So then I come down to Florida to work, ironically, at a Mustang shop. So I come down to Florida and I'm working for this dude, and I end up putting a set of cams in my car.
Okay.
So I ended up car was like a 1340 car. So now I'm thinking, right? So I'm driving around. So I'm in downtown Sarasota. And I'm going down 301 right by Martin Luther King Boulevard. I'll never forget it, boy.
For those of you who don't know, Bradenton, Sarasota area is where they hold FL2K. A lot of people don't know that FL2K exists.
It is, yeah.
So everybody knows Texas 2K is the thing.
This is way before that, of course.
But that's where FL2K is. So if you guys are on like the southeast region, come on down. It's always a blast.
That is very true. And this is the street racing era. This is, I want to say, this is the height of street racing in the Tampa Bay area, because
pre-Street Outlaws.
Well, no, I'd still say it was the height of it, because that was when we were all doing it and getting away with it. But then if you remember, Hulk Hogan's kid crashed.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden we were all in the spotlight. And
we're all bad people.
We're all bad people. And
well, we still are, because we're breaking the law.
Correct. But what I meant is they used to leave us alone. So we used to sit at the Sonic and we raced at the Gandy. But anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm in Bradenton. I'm going down 301 to Martin Luther King, and this absolute dumpster fire of a car pulls up next to me. It's a 76 Datsun 240Z.
Okay.
This thing's in primer. It's got cellophane red tape on the tail lights. It's on Steelies.
Ooh.
I mean, it's terrible. I have no idea what a Datsun is. All right. I just know that this car looks like a pile of shit.
Yeah.
And he rolls up next to me, and we're sitting at a stoplight, and he says, "Hey, do you want to run your car?" And I laughed at him. I was like, "What is this thing, right?"
Oh man, I've got a story like this.
Right? I said, "This is terrible." I'm like, and he said, He goes, "Let's do a 20 to 120 from a roll." And he said, "I'll give you the hit." I'm like, "Dude, it's like I'm gonna smoke this fool, right?"
Yeah.
Dude, I left on him. I did like sweet spot on a Mustang, second gear, 4,000 RPM, and I stand on this thing. And all of a sudden I heard turbos light, and this thing is gone out of my life. And I'm just staring in disbelief at this car and I'm going, what is this thing? So we get pulled over because a cop sees the whole thing go down. This is the best
And you're
part.
doing 100 plus.
Nah, not yet.
Well, you were trying. It was
trying.
I was damn sure trying.
So we go down, we both get pulled over, and ironically his name's Garrett. So I find out that it's a 76 Datsun 240Z. It's got a 280Z motor swapped in it. It's got a turbo off of a 6-liter. It's got alcohol injection and a mega squirt. It makes 400 to the tire, and it weighs like 2,100 pounds.
Yeah, it was probably like a high 11 second car.
It was actually, no, it was actually a 1090 car. He ended up losing the car on Pinks. The show Pinks, he ended up losing the car. He was on Pinks with it. So anyway, we got let go. Because, and it's like the so embarrassing is we went up and he let Garrett go because he saw the whole thing, and he walks up to me and he goes, "I'm letting you go because you just lost to a Datsun. You need all the money you can get." And I just stood there and was like, "What?"
Police officers have the greatest sense of humor in Florida. Like, I haven't been, like, back when I used to street race a lot, I didn't get stopped very often, but the couple of times I did get stopped, they always let me go, and they always had a great sense of humor. One of them was like, "Yeah, you think this Mustang's got enough for a Skittle," referring to an SRT4. And I was like, "Yeah, man, no worries." He goes, shows me a picture of it, and I was like, "Yeah, actually, probably not." And he's like, "Yeah, you should save your money and go work on this file." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be on my way, officer."
That's exactly what happened to me. Dude said, he goes, "I'm letting you go because you just lost to a Datsun and you need all the money you can get."
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so hurt.
All right, so
my heart.
I have a very similar story. So I'm racing. Let's see. This would have been. I went out to. So Orlando got really hot a couple of years ago, and like everywhere you were going trying to race in Orlando was too much. So I went out to the Space Coast. I found a bunch of guys that rolled around out there. I kind of got in with them. We were running. I had a car that was the fastest thing around for a little bit. And we go out to this road, and we're on our way out to the spot, and I pass this Civic on slicks on a trailer. Man, I hope he shows up because I want to bust his ass, right? So He shows up about 30 minutes after we're all there. I've already got like 1 or 2 races in that night.
Right, so you're already dialed in.
Yeah, the road's coming around. I'm good. Beat a nitrous LS. You know, I'm loving it.
Right.
And he gets off, and I see him. He goes and makes 2 or 3 passes, and I'm like, dude, he's got nothing for me. I was like, but I'm in. Let's see if I can get him to bite. And now let me paint the picture here. So he rolls it off the trailer. There's nothing in the car. Like
Right.
nothing in the car.
Oh yeah, like Honda stack, like
normal.
Like,
Well, I say normal.
There's
But
gutted, and then there's Honda gutted.
yeah, so
Honda gutted's a whole nother ball game.
nothing in the car. Lexan windows all the way around.
Yep.
Okay, no dash.
Like
just
they
a
don't
shaft with
they don't
steering
even
wheel
they
on
don't
it.
even steer it half the time. They just pull tie rods.
Just the steering shaft, the steering wheel, 1 Kirky seat, no interior, no carpet, no nothing. Okay, Lexan windows. The hood's gone. The front fenders are gone. The front bumper is gone. The rear bumper is gone.
It's weighs 800 pounds.
The headlights are taken out. I swear, 2 headlights taped, or 2
bulbs?
2 flashlights taped into the headlights. Okay, he comes and turns them on. All right,
Click click.
D batteries, right? Swear. And no hood, nothing. So I look, and I'm looking over it, and he's got like a, I don't know, whatever the Honda standalone is.
Right. Oh, the Honda.
Yeah, Honda, something like
Honda.
that. Something, you know, but it looked pretty nice. Like the motor looked like it was set up well, but I was like, listen, he's going to make way too much power, and he's way too light. He'll never get down this road. I had already gone down the road a couple times. I'm good. And he's like, hey, man, do you mind if I prep the road? I'm like, don't even care, dude. Take your time.
You do you, buddy.
He preps a whole 1/8 mile, okay? Lights the road on fire. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of nowhere. The whole road is on fire, about 4 foot tall. And I'm like,
Tips
damn,
the
this
drum
guy
over?
is serious. And I'm like, no worries. So we get out, we do a burnout. He's never worried about it. Light comes on, I tree him, I take off. I hit about the 8th mile. I look back in my rear view. He's 7 cars away. All right. I'm like, oh man, he's screwed now. So I go to turn on a second kit, and I'm like, I'm gonna make him sell it, right?
Yep.
So I turn on the second kit, and all of a sudden I hear this airplane coming to land on top of me, and I'm like, what is that noise? I look back, and the one flashlight is hanging off like this, and the whole front of the car is in the air, and I'm like, what the? And he went around me at least 60 miles an hour faster than I was going on 2 kits.
Dude had 60 trap speed on you. When you come around you. Like when you get past so bad it moves you around a little bit.
I wish I could find the GoPro of it, because it sounded like a Boeing 767 was landing on top of me. His turbo spools up, dude, and he absolutely blows my doors off. He beat me by 1 car, and then he kicks me while I'm down. We get back to the starting lane. I was like, dude, that thing really back half. That thing was really incredible. He goes, why'd you let out, man? Did you think you had me? And I was like, yeah, I thought I had you, so I let out. Didn't tell him I grabbed the second kit. We're trying to make him sell it. So, man, after that, dude, I pretty much hung it up, and I haven't done a lot of street racing since.
Yeah, that was pretty much me. That's pretty much me. I mean, I've played around with like racing friends and shit. But
From light to light.
That was the single, and you got to remember, this is before I was even married. So this was 16 years ago. That was the last time that I ever met a stranger on the street and raced him.
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah, because that was the worst beating I have ever even fathomed in my life. It ended up being like a 1080 car to a 1340 car.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how bad I was getting trained.
Yeah, when I asked him what his trap speed was, he was like, yeah, it's like 148 or something. And I'm like, yeah, my car trap's like 110, bro. But yeah, after that, I was pretty much done. I haven't raced in quite some time now. Chucky, you guys have both driven Chucky, me and you.
Yeah.
What's the car like? What's your goals for the next stage of it? And we're planning on bringing it back.
We are. I've always described Chucky as the perfect level of shitty.
Yes, so it's like it's like a crapshoot, but it's not like a Honda crapshoot. Like
Right.
It's still a Mustang. Get in, it has AC. It doesn't blow cold. It's got AC. It doesn't blow cold, but it's like it's got the features. It's got a radio with no antenna. Like it's got leather seats that move on their own.
Right.
But you get in and it rattles and it makes all kinds of noise.
Chucky has always been the perfect level of shitty. There's something to be said about So, well, I say owning a car. We don't own the car, or you and I don't. But what I'm getting at is there's something to be said about racing a car that you don't give a shit about. Because we're always...
Justin said, he goes, if it blows up, it blows up. Like, just
Well, and I'm
drive
not
it.
talking about neglect. I'm just saying,
No,
like in general, when you're building your own race, and I should say my own race car, but it's not even a case of I don't care because it's VMPs.
Yeah.
I don't care because it's such a piece of shit that if it breaks, it breaks. We just go fix it. It's not. We don't care.
It's not a new motor and
not a
trans in that
nice
thing.
car.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it.
And we can put a new motor in that thing and still be under 10 grand in it. So it's like,
Right. That's why. That's what I've always said about the car is it's the perfect level of shitty because you can beat it within an inch of its life and it doesn't matter because it's basically a junkyard car filled with junkyard parts and that's that.
and it does good.
And it does very, very well for what it is. And I feel like that's why. I feel like it's sometimes in racing you'll find yourself the harder you try, the more backwards you go.
Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something to this junkyard LS stuff.
There is. I feel there is because the ongoing joke is of all the engines that I've had in my car, the one that I spent the most amount of money on lasted the least.
Yeah. So every time I've ordered a set of
inverse
tires,
of that, the one that I spent the least amount of money on was the one that lasted the longest.
yeah, there might be some of this junkyard. So a little inside joke. So every time that I do purchasing for VMP, and every time I buy a set of tires for your race car,
Yes,
it blows up that
absolutely
pass. That pass.
Absolutely.
So I just don't buy tires anymore. But the problem is
Correct.
then it takes it takes a long time to get more.
Yep.
For you to get the car back together,
Yeah.
and then those tires are dry rotted and out of date. So then I gotta buy new tires.
That's the joke is I have purchased 5 sets of new tires and 5 sets of belts, and I've never used them.
Yeah, you have 5
Because
passes.
every time I put new belts in the car and every time I put tires in the car, it breaks for another year and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, not a year and a half, it breaks, I get pissed at it, and I don't touch it for another year. Then I throw it back together again and it breaks again, and I have to go buy new tires and I have to go buy new belts again.
Yeah.
So that's the ongoing joke is I'm not ever buying new tires for the car again because when I buy new tires, it breaks. So
Yeah, just ride around on dry rotted.
absolutely.
Just let
Well,
the
right now
cord
it's
show.
rolling chassis.
Yeah.
So.
What are our goals for Chucky? Like, so we got to bring it back out. It's our responsibility to bring it back out, and then we got to do something with this. So you and I have already kind
I
of
don't
chatted
know how
about
much
this
of
a
it.
couple weeks
We
ago.
chatted about this. We have a plan. I don't know how much of the plan we want to put out there just yet. That's more of a media department scenario.
It's still going to be a nitrous car. It's just going to be more nitrous. We'll say that.
Yes, correct.
More
So-
nitrous because we both come from a nitrous background. You're now
Yeah.
you do a lot of Pro Charger stuff in the past. You do a lot of VMP stuff
Every-
now, and now you do some turbo stuff.
Nitrous stuff. I've had. Let's put it this way. I've owned a lot more Pro Charger kit. Or I'm sorry. I've owned a lot more nitrous kits than I have Pro Charger kits.
Yeah, and you used to be a giant Pro Charger guy, so
Yeah.
literally a giant
I
Pro
have
Charger
put
guy.
nitrous on some things that should not have had nitrous,
Absolutely.
and large amounts of it too.
So yeah, we'll leave it there. It's definitely going to be a nitrous car, and we'll just stay there. So
We got a couple-
Kyle
we got a
Bucks
couple
his
things.
buy tires. He's a buddy of mine where we may or may not purchase tires from. We definitely purchase
He
tires.
says
from
buy tires. No, you don't understand. It really it blows up every time I buy tires.
him.
2019 F-150 Odin Ice Tank
Mustang ice tank, not F-150.
or Mustang.
Yeah, they're ready. They're on the website. I don't remember the part number, but if you go to VMP Cooling, ice tanks and degas bottles, it'll be there probably towards the top of the page. So they're definitely there and definitely available. Nicholas Rivera says, "What's up, bro?"
He said,
"What's up, dog?" I get to drive his truck.
He said
tonight.
he's ready. Line up. Let's go. What's up?
That's because he knows my car's down. Ask him when the last time he raced my car was. Yeah, he'll tell you. All right, what else we got? No, nothing else there. We're gonna grab a couple more questions, and then we have a couple more
I didn't
questions that
see all these over
JD
here.
lined
Wow.
out for us. My dad has a 2010 VMP Gen 2, 21 PSI, cams, headers, boost change, 750 wheel. It's a really awesome car, but I have to be honest, the 11 and 12 is the best.
Yeah.
There's a conversation going on about the GT500s in there between Dakota and.
Oh, okay. So
so
we'll
that's
stay
what's going on.
we'll stay out of that then. Chucky's the best content on VMP. I'm just saying that guy. I like where his head's at. He knows where it's at.
19 RS3, a 19 Roush Stage 3 Mustang, and I was considered doing a Roush Phase 2 upgrade or going with a custom tune from VMP, which yields the most power, increase to 93. The VMP tune is going to make more power than the Roush Phase 2 upgrade. I know this because I took a Roush Phase 2 and I made more power out of it with a tune. So
we did that today. We took a Roush tuned car today and tuned it on VMP.
Yeah, I was trying to think of, I don't remember the guy's name, but we did it a couple weeks ago. So long story short, the VMP tune is going to go faster and make more power than the Roush Phase 2 tune. He says SCT or N-Gauge. Actually, neither. The N-Gauge is discontinued. And the SCT will not work on it. What we have to do is we have to get you into an RTD. Yep. Remote tuning device, 3-speed tuners. It kind of looks like an MPVI2.
It's the replacement for the N-Gauge.
Correct.
Since the N-Gauge is out of
So
commission
we'll get you
now.
into an RTD and get you all set up. We have instructions step by step. It's all good to go. And yeah, we can hook you up. That's no big deal whatsoever.
So let's jump back into the questions. We can answer some more questions as they come in. JD lined out some questions for us. If you had one piece of advice for someone who's interested in getting into modifying and racing late model sports cars, what would it be?
Don't.
It's an addiction, and there are plenty other cheaper addictions. So pick your poison. That's all I got for you. Because it's very expensive.
That's a tricky question because the industry, I've been in it for so long. I sound like this really old person. I'm not. It's just that I've been in it for so long because this industry has been my entire life. So that being said, it's changed a lot. So it's like I can't even give the same advice to someone coming into it now would definitely be different than someone coming into it back then. It has changed a lot. So
it's changed a lot. Like okay, so for example, like when you and I first started getting into it, because we're similar age. When you and I first started getting into the industry, not even into the industry, when we first were infatuated by cars as a younger age, 16, 17, 18, we got our license. We're probably already modifying cars, trying to go fast as possible.
Oh God, yeah.
Having a 12-second car, you were
king.
You were king.
Absolutely.
Now, at 5 years ago, 10-second car, that's pretty quick. Now, if you're not going eights, it's like, are you even trying?
Right. And to add to that, is you can now go out and you can purchase
8-second cars.
8-second cars. You can purchase 9-second. I mean, like look at Demons, look at Red Eyes.
If you want to purchase a 10-second car, you can go to a Ford dealership. You can go to a Chevy dealership. Right. You can buy one from Cadillac.
So what I'm getting at is you can go and you can purchase a car right off the showroom floor that is already a 10-second or a 9-second car, and you don't have to know a thing about it.
It's scary.
So that's a double-edged sword.
Because you've got kids.
Right.
Could you imagine if Aiden picked up a Hellcat now
he went and bought a Red Eye and was like, hey, I'm going to go racing. And it's just like, yo, like, I would never discourage people from getting into racing. It's the fact that some people don't stop and learn before diving into it, and it causes ripples and everything.
Yeah, so like we wouldn't want anybody to get into a car and go hurt themselves.
Right.
We don't want them to wrap around a tree, stuff it in a ditch, none of that. So like I honestly feel like if your car makes more than if you sell a car as a dealer, as a mass-produced vehicle at over 600 horsepower, there should be an additional, not driver's license, but a training, like a sports car training that you have to take.
Yeah, I mean there is, or at least used to be, drag racing school, things like that.
But like before you can purchase it.
Oh, there is.
Because like imagine if you get a kid that jumps into a ZL1 Camaro.
Yeah.
Turn traction control. If I don't need that, look at me. I'm 16 years old.
There's also the argument of new cars are a lot safer than the shit boxes we used to race.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's that. So I guess the moral of the story is the one piece of advice I'd have someone that's interesting is do as much research and digging and educating as you can before hang out at the track, talk to people, watch people.
And I'll follow up with that is like, yes, do your research again, and then get a third opinion. But the problem is the like I see, especially being in the position that we're in now here, is I used to, when I was in sales and support, I used to get phone calls all the time. Hey, I asked Facebook and they said da 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 da. Is this true?
Yeah.
Come straight to the professionals. Like if you call us right now and you have a question about your car and it's something that we have knowledge on, we'll tell you and it's free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're the professionals. We do this day in and day out, 300 days a year, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So like ask the professionals if it's Saturday night or if it's Saturday afternoon and you got a race Saturday, if you don't know somebody in the industry, I mean, you can then you got to go to the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I can tell you that JD answers text messages over the weekend. It's not fun, but it does. So if you need to message us and you need to get a professional's opinion right away, do that. Don't think that the internet has all the answers, because there's plenty of smart people, but there's plenty of dumb people.
And then to finish off my soapbox, to sound like the old dude in the room, is if you're gonna get into it, have fun with it. Because everybody's got so fun. Dude, people have got so serious over the years. Everyone is so obsessed with it, and they're so serious, and they're so uptight, and people's arguing and fighting each other. And I get it, we're competitive. So part of that is Facebook's problem, because Facebook took away your ability to get punched in the face. You can say whatever you want without someone showing up and punching you in the face.
So like,
you were a little bit more careful with your words back in the day, because you get knocked out if you went out to the spot.
So like, you and I used to like for us, it was like we would get a call I'd be laying in bed, because I was 17, 18 years old. I'd be laying in bed and I get a phone call. Hey man, I just set up a race to you. I need you to meet me at the 7-Eleven in 20 minutes. And I would just get up and I would drive to the gas station and I would go race somebody. But if I went and I just talked a bunch of crap to this guy, I would get punched in the face. And you can't do that on Facebook anymore. And it shows.
You can talk all you want, because chances are they're in
you can't punch somebody in the face. So you had, like, people just start talking illegitimately, and they know it, and they're just looking for a rouse out of somebody, and it sucks, because like it loses the credibility. So like, when
internet bullies, the keyboard warriors of the thing,
it sucks.
That's basically all I would say is just have fun with the damn thing, and don't take it so serious. For the love of God, just have fun with it. So. We can climb down off our soapbox on that one.
What was the most surprising? What's that, JD?
Go ahead and you've got some conversation going on Facebook and YouTube. Go ahead and grab a little bit more of that.
Okay.
Those are ice tanks.
Oh, he says I'm ready to line it up against Chucky. Well, I can tell you that when we're done with Chucky, you're gonna have no shot, Nick.
David,
I won't say it on the internet, but I know how fast your car's gone, and when we're done with Chucky, it will be substantially more fast than that.
For one pass.
Yeah, at least one pass. What else we got? Link for the Engage.
There he is. David Glazer. Hey Matt, hope all is good with the car. Or the car's running awesome. Thank you. So
did you tune that car?
Yeah, I did.
Sweet.
Link for the ice tank. Took care of that.
So Nick backs us on the keyboard warrior stuff.
Yep.
All right, let's see what else we got on the YouTube.
There we go. Look at the STU. Was it STU Boyce? I'm seeing around 165 load at watt in a 16 GT. Does that correlate to a specific boost value? Looking for a lazy way of calculating boost. Assuming that the car is tuned correctly, yes. There are ways to skew a load rating if your injector data or your mass air meter data is incorrect. But take that out of the equation. Let's assume the car is properly tuned. Then you can think of load kind of like bar for boost, where one bar is naturally aspirated, which is going to be 1.0 load.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go up to 2 bar is going to be 15 pounds of boost, which is going to be 2.0 load.
Mm-hmm.
So if he could think about it as 165 load is approximately 1.65 bar, if you look at it that way, it means you're probably at about 7 or probably 8 pounds of boost, 9 pounds of boost, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
Just a hair over.
So just a hair over, because 1.5 load would be about 7.5 pounds, 8 pounds. So right in that area. So about 7.5 pounds. So 165 load is probably 8 or 9. So if you think about it that way, then yes. But again, this is only assuming that the car is properly tuned. I mean, I've seen cars that were the tunes were screwed up and the thing made 8 pounds of boost and it had 3.0 load. So it's just how it is.
I mean, make sure you use a legitimate tuner, even if it's not us. Like, just make sure that you do your research and call people and ask them, and get a lot of recommendations from people. Velocity Street, drop the value of the Odin kit.
Free Odins and you get an Odin, and you get an Odin.
I mean, we've priced the Odin kit to be.
We have the budget kit.
No,
That's not for
we
Odin.
have the Loki kit, which is
That's right.
Yeah.
the
So yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like the Odin kit is very comparable in the market to the other offerings. Give us a call and we'll figure out what your goals are and what your needs are. And maybe the Loki kit's better off for you. The Loki kit makes more horsepower most of the time on 93 octane than the Odin kit on the Odin cars. So yeah, maybe a Loki kit's better for you. That'll be better budget minded and it can pretty much ship right now. I don't think we're not waiting on anything for Odin. So Odin and Loki kits are shipping daily. So give us a call and we'll figure it out.
We got Fennell's Customs timing recommendation 5.4 fully forged 11-1 ported oath for Cobra heads, high duration, high lift Lenati cams, Coyote Cobra jet. So it sounds like a big crazy NA build, assuming it's naturally aspirated. If it's on E85, that's more than enough octane. So basically, the best way to handle that is just start adding timing. Throw it on a chassis dyno, just start adding a degree at a time. The motor's going to tell you what it wants. When you get to a point where you add a degree of timing and it's not picking up any power,
It's done.
it's done. You've reached what we would call MBT, max or brake torque timing. So maximum brake torque timing, which means that it'll take more timing without detonating, but it's not going to make any more power.
Yeah. So, but then it starts to become more like less safe, more ragged, if you will.
Correct.
So if it's not adding
straining
power,
stuff for sure.
dial it back and keep it safe. That's keeping
My point
it
is
safe.
with that is assuming it's naturally aspirated, you should be able. The car will tell you what it wants. If you don't have a dyno, go to the track and give it 23 degrees, make a pass. Give it 24 degrees, make a pass. Watch your trap speed. When you have added timing and it doesn't go any faster or it doesn't make any more horsepower, you're done. You're there. You will not hurt it on a naturally aspirated car on E85. It's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So on that level of build. So
can you run a booster pump or a voltage booster, fuel pump voltage booster without a tuner vision?
You can. It is not ideal.
You're likely going to burn up a pump.
Correct. It depends. It's yours. Your screen name there is 50 Prime, so I assume you have a Coyote. Those have high and low pump. We like to set it up where it doesn't kick the high pump on until you're in boost. If you have the booster pump without a tune revision, it will just be in high pump mode more often, and you will eventually wear out the pump quicker because it's in the high voltage situation longer.
Now, what if
it will work without?
What if it's a naturally aspirated car? Let's say it's a E85, 15 to 17, maybe it's got a Cobra jet and 47s.
Then it should be, depending, because it goes by fuel flow, high flow, so it would be fine probably. It's just, we would still recommend that you get a tune on it just so we can bump up that threshold so it's not in there all the time. But again, it will run and drive and work fine without.
There we go. Derek Centel just ordered the Odin Ice Tank. Got to pay to play.
There you go.
Sir. What was the most surprising thing you learned when you began working in the aftermarket? We kind of already went over this, but what's one thing that surprised you?
Sorry, I was reading a comment. What was the most surprising thing you learned when you began working in the automotive industry? That it's pretty cutthroat.
It is really cutthroat.
It is very cutthroat.
And it's funny because
and that's just my ignorance from coming from such a small town and everyone's your friend and yada yada. And then I came down here and it's like everyone's just stabbing each other left and right in the back. And I'm like, wow, you guys are serious down here.
there seems to be very few companies that will help other companies without stabbing each other in the back, and those are the ones that we like to work with.
Yeah.
So
the inverse of that is almost every friend, almost every friend that I've ever made in my life, and certainly all of my best friends, have all been in because of the automotive industry.
Absolutely.
So it's a very tight, and that's the other surprising thing it's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that are in it, but it seems it's a very tight-knit community. I was very surprised at the number of times you run into people and you catch names, like names are dropped of people that you know, and it's just the racing world is huge, but it's very small at the same time.
Yeah.
So
and it kind of really depends on what kind of racing you do. So if you're a grudge racer or street racer or whatever, you know a lot of those guys. Yeah. If you have a pro mod, chances are you don't know any 14-second cars. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're a 14-second car, if you're a 14-second car, you may know some pro mod guys' names, but you don't have their number in their phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it really depends. So like, yes, it's a big market, but chances are you stay in your lane, if you will. Sorry for the pun.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
That's the biggest thing is I if I had to pick something that was the most surprising, it's that how it's such a small world. There's you cross paths multiple times. You know hundreds and thousands of people by the time you're done with it. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, like for example, like Justin Young puts on Mob Internationals, and if you go and introduce yourself to everybody you see, you've heard that guy's name that you introduce yourself to at least 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Because like that's our lane, like mod motor cars, we're in there.
Absolutely.
So like I might go up and be like, oh man, this is, David Geisler, or this is Forsberg, Curtis.
Yeah.
But then I go, I've seen you before. What's your name? Oh, okay, yeah. I've talked to you on the phone 4 times last month.
I use Joe for example.
Yeah.
I knew about Joe obviously because I would paid attention to VMP, and then it was like I came to work here, and Joe and I were talking, and it turns out that Joe had been to my shop and actually bought something from me, and I just didn't remember it. Him and his friend came over, and they bought a transmission from me back when I was over in Sarasota. And then here we are, fast forward a couple years, and I'm working with them. It's always a small world, always.
Absolutely.
So things like that.
What is the most non-car job you've ever had? So non-car job. What you got?
So non-car job. I got a tie.
Okay, so go 2. You go 1, I'll go 1, then you can go back.
So this one would be the least car job of them all, which is in college. I worked for a company called Air Design Sleep, and I boxed and shipped mattresses for a living. It was this hot ass North Carolina warehouse, and we would unload a truckload of mattresses. We would band them up and box them up and everything, tape them up, and then another truck would come later in the day, and we would turn around and load them back onto another Old Dominion truck, and off they'd go. And there was no loading dock or anything like that. You had to
just manhandle
pick up
them.
mattresses. We used to like the twins because you could throw a twin on each shoulder and walk out and go.
What were you doing in North Carolina?
That was where I went to college at.
Oh yeah, you said
so I went to UTI up there. So yeah, I worked at a mattress warehouse and factory loading mattresses into a truck for $9 an hour, boy. And that was money back then. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, probably.
Because my rent. So keep this out. My rent was $500 a month for a 2-bedroom, and I split it with my roommate. So my rent was $250 a month.
Yeah.
And I made $9 an hour.
I know it's different, like everywhere you go, but like in Florida, man, if you want to find like even in this little podunk town of Deltona, like if you want to rent a house,
oh dude,
3-bedroom, 2-bath,
dude, it's
14,
yeah,
1,600 a month. Yeah, 1400, crazy.
See,
yeah, see,
I'm
JD's
$1,700 a month. I got a nice yard for my.
Yeah, and it's just you and your wife.
Ow.
It's almost time for a roommate, dude.
Dude, I'm walking with a limp.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Non-car job. So one of my first jobs was I worked at McDonald's. One of my first jobs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I worked at McDonald's.
I see this. This makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You got fired for spitting in the food, didn't
No.
you?
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about why I'm not working there anymore. But I worked at McDonald's for almost 7 years.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, so I left there to go work at a couple other places, but like I'm just like a highly motivated individual, so
Yeah.
I was working 50 hours a week at my other job, and then I went back to work 12 hours a week at McDonald's overnight shift. So I was just grinding, just always.
Yeah, I get that.
I just don't like to be home. Like I like to be on the go, on the move. I don't want to ever be stationary. I don't want to be home. Home is for sleeping and showering only.
Yeah, I get that. Like I said, I have with the wife and kids. That's a little bit different. If I was single, I would never be home.
Yeah, no way, no shot.
So it's boring
work.
there.
I like to work.
It's boring there. So the other non-car job I had is I worked for a place called the Medicine Shop, and it was a drugstore, and I delivered.
What kind of drugs?
No, it was prescription drugs.
Yeah, no, they're all prescription drugs now, but
just pills. And I was their delivery guy.
We're in Florida, so
I
yeah.
had to flip to your face for a second when you asked the question because everybody needed to see that side eye.
I would come by after it was in high school. I'd come by after school, and they had this little escort wagon, and I jump in the escort
wagon.
It was gold colored too.
You
know what I'm talking about, right?
90s Ford.
With the cream interior.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Cream on the inside. Clean on the So anyway, they give me this big ass tote, and it had bags of old people's prescriptions, and so people that couldn't come into town because they were handicapped, whatever, and with a clipboard of names and addresses, and I just drove around my little escort, dude.
You were a pill peddler.
Yeah, just knocking on doors. Here's your medication, sir. Have a nice day, and that was that, and it was terrible. It was so boring.
So I also remember my official first job. I found it I was reading the local newspaper, the Orlando Sentinel, okay? And it said, now hiring 14-year-olds, and I was 14, and I winded up getting a job as a door-to-door salesman for the Orlando Sentinel newspaper subscription.
Oh yeah, that's right. You could do that back in the day.
Yeah. Because I was trying to get a job at Publix.
Which is hilarious. Can you imagine a 14-year-old child nowadays going door to door?
No
It's
no
like,
shot.
There's adults that would not do that now, and we didn't care. We were kids.
Yeah.
Money, dude.
Yeah, I would try to. My crowning achievement. Okay, so I was a sales guy. Call it whatever you want. All right.
He told me
delivery.
He told me this the other day.
My crowning achievement is I sold a newspaper subscription to a blind man. When he cut me that check, I was like, I'm done. I'm retiring. This is it. This is the pinnacle of salespeople. Like this is all you get.
He sold ice to an Eskimo, and he sold a newspaper to a blind man.
Exactly. When I did that, I was like, I am done. I never went back to work again. I didn't even collect the paycheck. I was supposed to get like $3 for my commission check. Didn't even want it. Didn't care. That's something I get to talk about for the rest of my life.
I get that. I don't have anything that was that funny by any means. So my first job was just I worked for a furniture doctor. I stripped and repaired and refinished antique furniture.
I'm glad you finished that with antique furniture. All right. B-Rye question. What do we got, Brian? What's the question of the day?
We love Brian's question.
Speak up. Speak up.
He always has.
We need to hear you.
Hear me, it's fine.
He's covering the mic.
So, right next to us is the New Smyrna Speedway.
Yes.
So I was thinking that, like, the origin of NASCAR is kind of, everybody knows it, right? It's like
Running from the law.
dudes running moonshine, running
Right.
on the beach, blah blah blah.
I didn't know this, but I learned
You
something.
didn't? Yeah, you didn't know that? That's how NASCAR got started. Is
Okay.
running bootlegging moonshine.
Okay, that's cool.
Absolutely.
Anyway, go on. What's the question?
That's my people. Anyway. So I was wondering, does drag racing have like such a cool origin? Like
I don't know.
I love the idea. It's just kind of it's something you read in a story about NASCAR. You know what I'm saying? It's like these guys love this substance so much we're willing to risk our flipping lives.
It has, yeah. I don't feel that it has that cool of a origin, because it wasn't started on anything. I mean, racing.
I got the Wikipedia out.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I know what it is, but
what do you got?
Let's see what Casati said.
What I was gonna say is it didn't really get started with like running moonshine or anything like that. It was mostly just kids that were into hot rodding, so they were taking the cars that their parents had and they were swapping engines in them. And then this was kind of they were racing, and then it was like basically it got started in Southern California is when it got organized.
Okay.
So SoCal is where it kind of got organized. And that was like basically they were getting together, they were racing, and then they decided, hey, it's just a bunch of friends. They decided that they were going to truly organize it. So then they started getting into timing equipment, things like that. They'd get together on the weekends. They'd pick stretches of road, and then that was kind of like the birth of the NHRA. So because the NHRA has been around since the beginning, so that was kind of the birth of hot rodding is when it actually got organized. And it was basically because they were racing and crashing and things like that. So then they decided to try and add some kind of element of safety to it. And that's where the NHRA kind of came from. Is it was enforcing safety regulations, the inspecting cars, and then along, like I said, the timing equipment, things like that came around.
See, that's not at all where I would have
So,
gone. I would have
So
guessed
it's
something
not
totally
like
different.
it's not as rebellious as NASCAR, but it has.
Romantic as
No, it's definitely not. But at the same time, it's a cool beginning in a sense that it was just a group of friends doing what we do, and they just decided, hey, we should make this a little bit more organized, and it turned into a $1 billion a year industry.
here we are.
Yeah.
So
I would have never guessed that. I would have gone somewhere totally different.
oh yeah, but that, like I said, and it got started, I want to say, in the 50s.
Nah, it's got to be before that.
No, that's when NHRA got started.
Oh,
You ready for
So-
the fact check?
yeah. Let's fact check
no,
it.
that's I'm gonna see how close I was because I want to say
PBS.org. They did a whole special on it, right? So this
Google it, Jamie.
This is the history detectives.
yeah.
Drag racing was born on the dry lake beds in the California deserts in the 1930s.
Oh, in the
The
30s.
engines got better and the drivers got braver. Speeds began topping 100 miles an hour. They
Okay.
frequently began to take place on just used military runways, and the first organized events were done. The first actual event was in 1949. To go last year.
That was close. I said 50.
So you were like 75%.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I'll give you-
See, I forgot about the salt. So they were running salt flats and stuff.
Yeah,
before
from like
drag
the
racing.
teens to the 30s.
I was kind of covering more along the lines of the actual NHRA organized events.
Yeah, no,
But
that
yeah,
was
they've
pretty
been
good.
doing.
88, 49.
That was good.
But that being said, make no mistake. Since the beginning of time, if it moved under its own power, mankind has raced it.
That's what I was thinking. So I'm thinking about like only breeding the fast horses, like not letting the
Yeah,
slow horses
I
breed,
mean,
and that's where you start.
There
that's
has
where you race
been
from.
horse racing and pig racing and
turtle racing.
turtle racing, and mankind is a competitive thing.
Yeah.
So if it can be raced, we will race it. In case anyone hasn't figured that out yet.
Absolutely.
So like I said, in closing, Brian, it doesn't have as romantic of a beginning as running from the cops, running moonshine,
It's a better story.
but it is. It just drag racing was just a group, mostly a bunch of friends that just decided hey, we're gonna do this anyway. Let's make it a little bit safer, and here we are. So, old flathead Fords and small block Chevys, man.
Can you tell me when steam engines?
Well, I meant with
Oh, I'm sure we were racing like.
oh, we were racing steam engines, boy. You act like
yeah.
you're gonna act like some Union Pacifics weren't rolling next to each other.
Let's take one more scrub of questions from Facebook.
Yeah, we got a couple more. What else we got here?
2-bar PSI. Hey guys, how good is the factory oil cooler on a 2010 GT500 HPDE driver?
High performance driver education. So like,
Oh, okay.
if they get the infield at Daytona and all.
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't familiar with the
I
acronym.
don't have a good answer to that one. I'm not a big road course guy. I would assume that if the car is mostly factory, that the
Fine.
factory oil cooler will probably be enough because I can't see Ford designing an oil cooler that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Because I think so let's go back to the 0304 Cobras. They had a factory oil cooler on them.
right.
And I remember people saying that they wouldn't overheat on road course type stuff. And that if you had like a 2-valve GT, that you should try and get an oil cooler from like the 0304 Cobras. And I think some of the Mach 1s had them. I don't remember. But yeah, so people were saying that.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to bet that if in 0304 they had it pretty well figured out, that by
sure it's
2010 it
yeah.
only got better.
How much effort and cost is required to convert a Gen 3 Coyote to a dry sump? A lot of money.
Yeah, not worth your time.
Lots of money. The pan and the pump and the lines and the tank and
Too much, not worth it.
yeah, I mean, thousands. Can it be done? Yeah, it's gonna be thousands of dollars. I don't really see that it being something that's needed by any means. I mean, we have wet sump Coyotes going in the 6s at 200 miles an hour. I just don't see it being something that's needed, unless for some specific application.
I want to take my Shelby to VMP for a road trip. Currently has a Kenny Bell 2.8 supercharger. Looking to get a VMP Gen 3R. Let us know. We can plan around your road trip.
We can get you a vacation package.
And I can get you a vacation package. I'll put you in a hotel on the beach and you drop it off on X day, pick it up X days later.
Oh, look, it's Neil. What's up? He said Neil is in the chat.
What is up? When is it necessary to use a crank pulley support? I'm assuming he's meaning crank support.
Yeah.
On a PD blower. To be honest, so like think about all the cars that we have here. Like I don't know, Sean Fisher, I don't know what your overall goals are for the car, but we have cars making 1,100, 1,200 horsepower with a TVS blower that aren't breaking cranks, you know, with a built motor, of course. I mean,
it's kind of like I use the same thing as oil pump gears.
Mm-hmm.
Tons and tons of people make tons and tons of horsepower without oil pump gears. Tons of people have a TVS that make 1,000 horsepower without breaking a crank. Mm-hmm. And then there's also people that break cranks.
I've seen people make 1,000 horsepower Coyote TVS with stock engines. So do I recommend it? Absolutely not.
In my opinion, if I were trying to build a max effort or close to a max effort positive displacement car or blower car that was going to do a lot of racing, I would put one on it.
Yeah.
Me personally. If it's just a street car that's making 600 horsepower and you want to daily drive it, it's probably not. It's probably overkill for your application.
I would even argue to say if it's 1,000 horsepower street car and you race it every single weekend, still don't need one. If you daily drive it and you're just racing on the weekends, don't need one. If you've got this thing turned up to 1,300 and it fires up only to make it from your trailer to the staging lanes, make a pass and come back around, then yeah, absolutely.
Well,
why
and then
not?
Again, keep in mind, the more power you make and the harder you spin a blower, the more stress you're putting on that crank snout.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. That being mine, I have one for sale. I have the one off my car I still got to sell. Brand new in the box. I never put it on.
Gen 1 Coyote oil pump and crank sprocket are done. I'm at 700 wheel. How concerned should I be with the rods? 700, you're good right now where you're at.
Yeah, leave it there.
I wouldn't turn it up too much higher.
I would not turn it up any higher. 650 if you wanted to be extra careful. 700
you should live for
700 will be okay
time.
As long as you respect it and you don't beat it within an inch of its life. It'll probably be okay.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's all we got for YouTube. Let's jump over to Facebook. We got a couple more and then we can get out of here. Matt, what happened to the demon that you were tuning?
I assume he's talking about the purple one.
Purple Nurple?
Yeah, I believe he's talking about Blaze's demon. If that's the case, we put the Magnuson on it. So cliff notes on that one. We put the Magnuson on it. We went 889. We had the blower only demon record for a little while. And then it kind of, he's raced it here and there. We ran into some issues, a couple intercooler bricks, things like that, some throttle body issues. He kind of been tied up with working and not really racing it. And actually, they just moved out to Oklahoma to start a new business in Oklahoma. So now I don't think we'll be seeing any of that car for a while because they've been busy doing other adventures. So
that's another thing, Chidrins. If you want to get into racing cars and modifying your cars, make sure you got a good job because it ain't cheap.
That is for sure.
All right, Chidrins.
So that's about that. It like I said, that purple car ended up with a career best of 889. So at a full weight demon, and
880 car is pretty good.
Yeah, and that was kind of the end of it.
I have a 2017. This is Nick.
Doug,
I'm not even gonna try and say this. I'm gonna try. Geekus? Nick Geekus? I'm sorry. I'm sure we butchered that.
Geekus?
I have a 2017 GT with a 727 Roush Charger setup. Do you know how many horse the fuel pump control module can handle? I'm assuming he means fuel pump driver module.
Or there's the pump in the tank, I think is a better.
They call that module. Ford calls that tank.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the fuel pump. I don't remember. Sadly, that's a joke question.
Close.
I don't
we were close.
remember.
We almost got his name. Before we answer the question, we were close.
Okay.
Can you phonetically spell it for us, Nick?
I don't remember what the 727s got. I don't remember if it was a factory pump with it. I feel like it was a factory pump with a booster pump.
No, the 727
I don't remember
was not. Okay, so
it was
the
an
stage
S550.
2.
It's an S550.
The stage 2 got a, what was it? Phase 3, stage 2. Is that how the Roush stuff goes? Geekus. I think you said that. Or I said Geekus. I think you said Geekus.
Geek ass?
No, geek ass.
Anyway.
So the phase 2 got the fuel pump voltage booster. The phase 1 did not. And if it's stage or phase, I'm sorry, Roush guys. I don't mean to get under your skin.
And then good old Doug Heron. So funny story, Doug. I do in fact have another SVT Focus.
Another one.
I have another one. I have it. It is sitting in the.
What color is it?
It is a my it was on the thing not too long ago. It is an 03 SVT Focus, bright yellow. It is the Euro package, what we call the EAP package. And yes, it is currently getting. I am currently, as we speak, rounding up parts to turbo it. So I have a problem.
Yeah,
I have a problem. This is number 4.
So how many Focus SVTs have you had? We got like a minute left. How long have we? So you've had 4.
I've had 4.
Which one's been your fastest one so far?
My first one, which was my red one that I bought from Kelly Aiken, which I ended up turboing. So that was stock bottom end. So it's the same thing. I always build my own turbo kits. So built my own turbo kit.
It's on the screen for them to see right now.
Oh, the yellow one?
Okay, cool, perfect. Yeah,
there you go,
it is.
There it is right there. But anyway, home built turbo kit with a precision billet 5758 on 16 psi and water meth injection. It made 400 a tire.
I was gonna say, that thing make like 380.
It was 400 a tire. Nice. It was absolutely worthless on the street. It was so much fun.
But it was a blast on the highway
because they have open differentials. So the thing would do, if you downshifted into 5th, so it's a 6-speed. If you were in 5th, it would just set one tire on fire at 80 miles an hour. And dude, it was so much fun.
Did anybody make a limited slip for it?
Yeah, the Quad Life, but I was not about to take the transmission apart to put a differential, a $600 differential, mind you, into that car. So I just,
how much fun would it have been with 400 horsepower? They can't weigh more than like what?
They're 2,800 pounds. I'm gonna say they're 2,800 or something.
2,800 pounds, 400 horsepower.
Dude, it was so much fun.
On a 60 roll, that thing would just eat.
I beat it within an inch of its life, and I ended up building the black one, which is a big crazy NA nitrous motor, and it was fun, and I liked it because it was different, but it was never as much fun as the turbo car. So, and then the white one was mostly stock, and now I got the yellow one.
Have you done nitrous one yet?
Yeah, as I said, I did a direct port. I thought I showed you pictures of that.
Maybe. Yeah.
The green.
There's
because I had a fogger kit. I built a 13-to-1 forged motor with a fogger direct port on it.
Yeah.
They made 400 to the tire on spray.
Yeah. 13-to-1. That was a rowdy boy.
That was when. So very last story here. I went to start that engine, and I turned it over, and it fired, and then it shut off, and it wouldn't start again. And I spent 6 hours trying to diagnose it, to come to find out that the dome on the pistons was so tall, it hit all of the spark plugs and closed the gap on the spark plugs. So I had to go and find 30,000 spark plug washers. That's a thing for indexing spark plugs. I bought a spark plug indexing kit, and I had to space the spark plug up 30,000
spark plug spacers.
So the pistons wouldn't hit the plugs, because I'll be damned if I was taking the motor back apart.
Hell
and I drove it like that forever. With a 30,000 spacer, tapered spacer.
How many threads were in those heads?
Oh, well, they use a 6510. So there's an inch of thread.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking so like in the Cobra days, you had the 4 thread or the 9 thread heads.
No, these are. Okay. This is an inch worth of thread.
Okay.
So the ongoing joke is when the Coyote first came out. If you remember, long before there was an NGK 6510, there was the Ford Racing Holder plugs for the Coyote.
SPF 471.
I don't remember the part number, but there was the Ford Racing 0-degree one-step Holder spark plugs for the Coyote for supercharged. Those were factory SVT Focus plugs that they just upsold for a whole bunch of money. It was a factory SVT Focus plug.
Gotta make money. Doug says as long as the starter works. On that note,
there's an inside story on that one.
On that note, I think we're out of here. Tune back in every Wednesday. We're here. Usually different people. Usually different topics.
Yeah, we've been trying to mix and match it.
Yeah.
Smash it up.
Who was here last week? Michelle and Joe?
Michelle and Joe
and Joe last week, and the week before that was Chuck and I.
Yep.
And the week before that was you and Joe.
Yes.
And
it was Joe and I for a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks when we were trying out the new format. So tune in next week, and it'll be a new surprise.
Da da da.